It was an early morning at the local high school. Max was standing by his locker with his best friend Lucas. They were just small talking about random stuff when they suddenly heard a voice behind them. Hey guys! Both turned around and saw Tina. Tina was another friend of Max. So, what are you guys talking about? Some random stuff, said Lucas with a grin. Oh, football? Girls? Well, mostly football, soccer. Yeah. So, what guys are you going to have for first class today? I have math, said Max. I have English. Well, same here, said Tina. So, I will see you guys maybe at lunch break in the cafeteria. I mean, since we don't have any classes together until after lunch break, yeah, we can do that. But we should probably hurry because the bell will probably start ringing soon. Yeah, you're probably right though. So as a cliche, the bell did ring. Everyone started running as fast through the corridors to the classrooms. Max arrived to his classroom, and he actually enjoyed math, and he actually had a good time there. Math was actually his strongest subject in the school, including English. But the rest of the day, though, when he arrived to the cafeteria at lunch, he saw that he saw that Lucas and Tina were already at one of the benches, one of the tables. So, you guys had a good time at school so far? He joked around. You know what this always does. Yeah, but even though I'm actually enjoy going to school these days, yeah, but I prefer that I could stay a bit home a bit longer sometimes, said Lucas with a small grin. Max knew that Lucas would rather stay at home, play games, and sleep a little bit longer in the days. But he always told him, you can always do that during the summer break, spring break, or anything like that, but never much as do because if you don't forget much as a good career after that. And Lucas always said, I know that, Max. Just give me a break. I just sometimes just want to be asleep a little bit longer in the mornings. That's it. But during the lunch, Tina looked at her friends and asked, so you guys have any plans after the afternoon? Yeah, I had my part-time job, said Lucas. I don't mind it. It's good, well paid. What about you, Max? Um, I'm not sure. I might just stay at home, do some homeworks, or just watch some TV. What about you, Tina? Same here. I had to go to my part-time job. Tina was working at the local grocery store as Lucas did, but in two different stores. Well, you two actually had a well-paid job. What about you, though, Max? Why don't you get a part-time job? Um, I have been thinking about it, but I'm not sure. But they were then interrupted. They heard a voice in the background, and it was actually another girl. So you're sitting here alone again, Tobias? And that girl was named Maya. Maya was the school's bully. Everyone knows that how much she likes to bully others, despite if you're rich, poor, tall, short, never what is. Tobias was a guy that most people knew. But since he preferred to be a little bit alone, like a lone wolf, Maya had called him the school's outcast and always pick on him because he was always alone. Because she always said, "Oh, here you sit alone again, Tobias. You don't even have any single friend at the school." But Tobias didn't even try to argue back to her because one time when he did, she was like, "Oh, you'd have the nerve to talk against me? Oh yeah, you're such cutie." Not every single time that happened. Tobias just ignored her and just keep eating. But then she grabbed his drink and poured over his head. Oh, excuse me, it was just an accident. That was one of the bad mistakes that she ever done. But Tobias, he didn't do anything. He just stood up. took it to the tray, and just walked off. And he didn't even cry or said a word. And some people did look at her, and he just remarked, "It's like, what are you looking at? Four eyes?" She said to another guy with glasses. "Keep your eyes on something else." And then she just walked away as nothing had happened. "One of these days, someone will punish her on this," said Lucas. "Well, I don't know why the school hasn't even stopped about this," said Max. "Since the high school has a non-tolerance policy against bullying. But despite this, Maya had been kept target anyone that she fits forward her mind in her eyes though. I mean, shouldn't anyone tell the teacher or the principal about this? I mean, they took this serious. They take the school's bullying policy quite serious. But Max said, no one has ever wanted been willing to stand up against her. And you know what happens if anyone tries? At least one did try though. But he was picked on. And he was bullying so much that he just dropped out of the school. "Yeah, I remember that," said Tina. "I mean, that was just terrible. That guy was a very popular, and he was just a nice guy." "Yeah, I mean, how can anyone even stand against that? I mean, Tobias, there's only one day he will snap. And trust me, that is one of the worst things anyone can ever happen. Because," said Max. "Yeah, that's true," said Lucas. "But there is nothing else we can do. I mean, if we try to tell the teacher or the principal, and if they try to ask her about this, and or if they try to figure out to find any witnesses, but if anyone they ask deny they never been bullied, or if they never saw anything, there's much they can do. Without any proof, there is much else anyone can do but Maya." "Yeah, that's true." So after that, they just continued their lunch and continued the rest of the day of school. After school was over, Max went home while Lucas and Tina went to their jobs. But that day, that afternoon, Max was actually getting tired all about this Maya's bullying shenanigans at the school. But both Lucas and Tina was right. Without proof, there was nothing anyone else could do about it. So he just hoped that one day Maya will realize that her bullying policy or her bullyingness would eventually stop and achieve what she had been doing is the wrongdoing. Even though that she was aware about this policy, she didn't even care about it seems. But as he was sitting on the couch watching some TV, he heard a door opened, and it was actually Olivia, Max's older sister. "Oh, hey Max, you're home early?" "Well, do you know that he's always left school at 3 p.m. these days?" "Oh, yeah, so, yeah. So, how are you watching?" Uh, nothing particular, just random things on TV, you know. "So, what are you up to?" "Yeah, I'm actually on my way to work, though. I just came in to get my keys to go to work. So, is there anything you want before I pick up school from work?" "Nah, I'm fine." So the rest of the day, everything was just normal. But when he went back to school the next day, he found out that Tobias wasn't even at school this day. "Huh, I thought maybe Tobias maybe took a day off of school," said Lucas. "Well, that's not the first time it happened," also Tina. "Really?" "Yeah, I mean, he did that last semester, the last school year." "Huh, yeah, now you mention it, yeah, he did. But I do wonder why this continued, though. Who knows?" But as they were just talking, they were actually went to the first classes, and the rest of the day was just normal. They went to the classrooms, they went to the cafeteria to have the lunch. But as they were sitting there, they noticed that Maya was target another person this time. Since Tobias wasn't in school, there was this girl, Rachel. Rachel was a very cute girl that Max had a crush on, but he has never admitted that to her, or he hadn't even told anyone about it. But Max, he was very much shocked when he heard, "Oh, you sitting here all alone, Rachel." This time he snapped. "Not this time," said Max. "What?" Before any of his friends could even do anything or say anything back, they saw him just stood up, walked over to Maya and Rachel. "Ah, so you're sitting here alone. You're no friends at all." Rachel was a little bit a shy girl at school, but she was really well liked by anyone, except for Maya, since she picked on anyone that she fit worthy her eyes. Before she could continue, "Oh, so you're sitting here yourself. Where are your friends? Oh, nowhere." "Stop it." "What?" She turned around and saw Max. "Oh, Max, hi. I was talking to my friend Maya Rachel here." "Don't deny it, Rachel. I heard every single word. Everyone here told you. This is enough." "What do you mean?" "Don't deny it. We all know you are the school bully. You picked on almost anyone. Tobias was yesterday. Now Rachel. Who'll be next? Anyone can be targeted. No one is safe from you bullying. And you know the school has no tolerance against bullying? Have you even forgot about that?" "Nah, I just don't care about it. I mean, bullying is fun." "How about if someone start bullying you?" "If they even try, I would just start believing that they were even there." "Oh, how would you know?" So after that, Max said, "Well, just leave her alone, take your lunch, and go somewhere else because no one here wants you to see bullying her at all." But before that, "All right, fine," she said, and grabbed my Rachel's drink and just poured it over her. "That's it. Leave," said Max angrily. And just Maya just laughed and just walked away. And "I'm sorry about that, Rachel. I can't still stand her to see you being bullied as well," said Max. It, it is okay, though," she said with a smile. "I mean, I'm used to it." "Used to it?" "Yeah, she picks on me sometimes as well." "Wait, she does?" "Yeah." But then Max had enough. "You know, I can't stand it anymore. I mean, if she has picked on Tobias and now you, who else will it start happening?" So after lunch, instead of going to the next class, Max went straight to the principal. The secretary saw him. "Wait, Max, what are you doing here?" Since Max is a popular guy at the school, well liked by the person, the staff, and the students. "This is unlike you, though. I mean, you shouldn't have class by now." "Yeah. Um, I need to talk to the principal for a moment, if it's possible." So the secretary pushed a button and asked the principal, and he said it was okay, and if he come in. So he walked in. "So Max, what can I do for you?" "Well, Mr. Principal, there's one matter I would like to talk to you about." "Oh, tell me." Then he started explaining what was happening going on in school. "So that is what's happening. And this is actually the very first time I even had heard of it. Yes, I know the school has this non-tolerance against bullying, but this is something that goes well beyond now. My ESPN doesn't even care if anyone bullying that she's been bullying others. I can't stop seeing my friends being bullied. I can't stand it. Tobias was yesterday, now Rachel. I mean, who knows what would be next target? And I mean, she could be targeting many other students that I even know of. The numbers could be probably higher. She could be bullying is so severe that they are too scared to even tell anyone. I should probably tell you this, but this is getting too far. You should probably stop this." "You have my word, Max. And even if you were to decide to tell her, I prefer to be anonymous." if it's possible, of course. So, but the next day, during the lunch break, Max, Lucas, and Tina were sitting at the table with Rachel. They saw Maya sitting by a table, and she didn't look happy. Whoa, someone actually is a little bit mad today, said Lucas. I wonder why, said Tina. Well, from what I heard, someone actually told the principal about what happened yesterday and about Tobias the day before. Really? Who could that have been? I don't know. From what I heard, it was anonymous. Wait. Tina looked at Max. Don't you? I don't know, said Max quietly. I mean, that's like Lucas said, anonymous. Who knows? It could be in almost anyone. Well, I don't know, but at least someone told the principal about this. And after school was over, Max was standing by his car when he saw Rachel, just walking at the sidewalk. Hey, Rachel. Hey, do you need any lift home? Uh, really? Yeah, I don't mind to get try you home. I don't have anything else planned to do, so I don't mind. Yeah. So from that afternoon, he drove her home, and she was happy about it. But it was still in his one that he actually still had a crush on her. But just before she was about to step out of his car, he asked her, Rachel, yeah? There is one thing I would like to tell you. Oh? Um, and then he said to her that he was in love with her, and she was surprised, and she started blushing, and then suddenly, you know, I do think you're really cute, and I wouldn't mind to be your girlfriend. He was surprised that she even admitted that. But they both decided to maybe see if they can actually work between them, if there was any spark. So they decided to go out on a date the next day, or on Friday afternoon. So the rest of the day, or the rest of the week, everything was just normal. Things were just perfectly fine. Even though at the school, Maya was still very quite mad that someone had told the principal about her. Since then, she hadn't been bullying anyone. But there was one thing that Max did notice: Tobias. Tobias hadn't even been in the school for almost a whole week now, and he started wondering why. So he started asking around from the students that knew him somewhat, and from what they heard, he had just stopped coming. Some of them actually had asked him personally or by email, asking why he hasn't even been up showed up to school. But he said that he was just didn't feel any well, so he had just called the school that he feels sick. So that was the most recent. But even though Max didn't even believe that was the case, but he's probably that Maya had been bullying him too much that he was afraid to go back to school being bullied anymore. Even though probably he said to himself, he probably heard that already that Maya has been told, and maybe that he could return to school. So on the Friday afternoon, Rachel and Max went to the movies as a date, and they actually had a good time. So for the next couple of weeks, their dates went normally well. They went to either picnics or just walking around the town or just to the cafe, something like that. Even when Lucas and Tina found out, they were just happy for their friend that had met some girl that he likes. But one day, all would suddenly change for the most uneventful, from a dramatic event. Because one day in school during a lunch break, Max, Lucas, Tina, and Rachel were sitting by a table, and Maya by herself on a table. But suddenly, they saw someone just walked in. Tina looked around and saw, oh, it's Tobias, right? Said Lucas, and looked, oh yeah, it is. I haven't seen him in a while now. Where can it be? Almost 2 weeks? Or 3 weeks? He hasn't been in normal school for about 3 weeks, said Max. But they suddenly saw he just stopped at near the door and suddenly lift his hand from his pants and start, and they all heard this big bang sound. Whoa, what was that? Everyone said. Everyone just looked around and saw, and instead heard, listen up, said Michael the Tobias, with a strong, loud voice. That was actually the very first time anyone actually heard him screaming like that. Because Tobias has been most known to be a little bit quiet of himself, or speak a little bit soft tone, but this was actually the very first anyone heard him be such strong tone. Maya, where are you? Everyone just looked at him, and he saw her along the table. Ha, there you are. And he was like walking over to her, but Max, he saw the gun, and he realized that he was after her. So he stood up and tried and walked over to him and said, Tobias, stop. It's not worth it. But Tobias didn't say a word at first. Tobias, listen to me. Don't do it. Not worth it. She hasn't even bullied anyone for 3 weeks. She has stopped. Are you sure? Yes. Anyone here can tell you that she hasn't bullied anyone. But he didn't care. I don't care. She needs to be paid for this, he said angrily. He walked up to Maya, who looked so terrified she started crying and said, Please, I'm so sorry, my Tobias. I didn't mean to. I don't care. All you need is a bullet in your head, he screamed. And he literally screamed. And if anyone else tried to intervene, you will be shot. I don't care anymore. And Lucas just sat there with Tina and Rachel, everyone terrified. But Rachel walked up to Max, but even though he tried to tell her to go back, but she was at Tobias. And Tobias turned around and saw Rachel. What do you want, Rachel? Listen, she bullied me too. Wait, she did? Yes. And I don't, as much I want to see her to be hurt or be bullying herself, but it's not worth it. Do you think that if you bullying her or killing her would solve it? Yes. At least she won't be bullying anyone else, he said, still angry. Tobias, she hasn't been bullying anyone. Please, please, give me your weapon. She tried to walk over to him and said, Don't get any closer. I will fire. But Rachel stopped and said, Please, Tobias, I really want you to think about it for a moment. Stop! I I don't care anymore. I want her dead. And then Max told Rachel, go back to the others. I will try handle this. But Tobias just said, If you even dare step any step further, I will shoot you and your little girlfriend here. I don't care if she dies. And Max then lost it. Tobias, first, I can stand your terror, freaking angry towards Maya, what she did. Literally, I would have felt the very same thing. But listen, this is the absolute last thing you want to do. Do you really want to be in prison for killing another student? How would your family feel about it? I mean, your parents are probably loving you. I know your parents. They were loving you. They love you. Do they want to see them in jail for life? How about your siblings? Your brother. Your younger brother who looks up to you. Do you think he wants to see his older brother in jail for something he did? And that made Tobias even more angry. Don't even dare, he said. But Max, he didn't care. Listen, if you just give me the weapon and we can talk about this. Talk, talk, talk. No more talking. She will have to pay, Max said. Look, Tobias said. But they didn't know. Some of the students actually had sneaking out from the cafeteria, had informed some of the teachers and even the principal. The police had been called. They were outside. They didn't dare to even go inside because they didn't know how stable Tobias were in his mind right now. But Tobias, please, for the last time, don't. I don't care, Tobias said once again, screamingly at this. Maya, she was a mess. She was crying, crying, and hiding underneath the table, trying to protect herself. Get out from the table and face me, Maya. You need to get you punished, he said. But Maya, she was terrified. Her legs wouldn't even want to listen to her. Even though she wanted to just go up and get her punished, but her legs wouldn't even listen. Max tried to put his hand on Tobias' shoulder and said, Tobias, as your friend, look, I know this is I don't know how this feels like to be bullied. I never been. No, because you're a popular guy. Everyone likes you. I don't anyone likes me. I do. I'm your friend. But if you're my friend, why did you even do anything about it? I did. Too late, said Tobias. I know you did tell the principal about this. I listen, I know you, said Tobias, a little bit calmly. I know you're a popular guy and a good guy. Just take your friends. Just leave. I won't hurt you, any of you. Okay? But Max didn't even move. Max just once again tried to convince Tobias just leave or just give up the weapon. Tobias, the police is probably already outside, and they probably are ready to storm in and try to fire up on you if you don't give up right now. And he was right, because they could hear some voices outside, some sounds of at least a number of people. And they heard a voice behind the doors said, Tobias, this is police. Give up. It is not worth it. But then Tobias just screamed, Don't even dare! And Max just stood there, calmly, even though he was angry for a moment earlier, but now he's trying to act calm to calm down Tobias as much as he could. But then when he didn't realize, Max looked at Tobias and said, Tobias, we all can handle this in different manners. Listen, I have no idea if how I would react if I was bullied like you did. If I had any idea, I probably would react the same thing, but I would never done go this far. You could have probably told the principal and have her expelled from the school, or maybe transferred to a different school. So your teacher could be bullying others in a different school. They had the same thing repeated. No, she needs to be punished. Tobias, if your brother did see you right now, how do you think he would react? Please, just don't even dare to bring him up, he said. But Tobias, if your brother did see you, I said, don't dare! And then he pulled his weapon right at Max. But Max, he didn't flinch. He tried to act calm, even though inside he was terrified. Max said once again, Tobias, I know. Because, you know, Being bullied is something I would never even want to have been happen to anyone. Not even my friends, my family. But listen, I know you don't like me to talk about your brother. Then don't do it, he said, pointing a weapon against him again. But what do you think if your brother was bullied by someone at school? What do you think he would have done? Do you think he would have done this, doing the same thing as you do? Threatening people by killing them? Don't you dare! But then Rachel walked up again. He's right, Tobias. Your brother didn't want to would even do anything like this. Listen, I know what it's like to lose someone like that. Oh, how dare you know? Because my brother, he was bullied at his school as well. Oh yeah, you're making it all up. No, I'm not. He's not. He's what? He's dead. Everyone was just silent. What? He tried to calm down the attacker. Another student who has been bullied by someone like you. Instead for a weapon, instead for a firearm, he had a knife. This bully, or this one who bully, target the bully, stabbed her, or stabbed the bullier, that person, the bully, and my brother tried to defend, tried to save her, but he was stabbed as well. And even though he did try to save his life, you know, you know how old he was? What? He was not even older than yourself. He was my big brother. I wouldn't even want to see the same thing happen to you. And even though Rachel tried to reach out to him, but was no point. Just leave right now. And then he turned around, put his weapon right at Maya. But then, as Max tried to talk to him, to commit to some one last attempt to calm him down and give up the weapon. But no point. So he tried to grab the weapon. As they struggled to who is this to get the weapon, suddenly, bang! A gunshot. The weapon was fired, and suddenly it was dropped to the floor, and Max was holding Tobias in a chokehold, and suddenly the whole room was filled with police officers in protective gears. They managed to arrest Tobias. As everything was calmed down, and as Max looks just said, Rachel, everything is going to be okay. Max? Yeah, yeah. And then he turned around and saw Rachel stand there, and he noticed one thing: a red stain on her shirt. He saw that she had been shot by Tobias. While they were struggling, the weapon was fired, and the bullet hit her right in the chest. And then she just fell to the floor, and one of the officers called for an ambulance right away. She was immediately taken down to the hospital and referred to surgery. Tobias was now arrested. Everyone else was allowed to go home from school because it was closed for today. But for Max, he stood there seeing the ambulance taking away Rachel to the hospital. You should go after them, said to Tina and Lucas at the same time. But he was just stunned, frozen, petrified, in fact. But as the ambulance was no longer in sight, He just fell to the floor, to the ground, passed out. This this shock made him faint. He was taken home. He was not hurt or anything. But his parents was home and Olivia. Max, please wake up. Later that evening, Max did wake up. What happened? Wait, Rachel! He screamed. Wait, where are you going? To a hospital! I want to see Rachel! But it's too late! Are you? No, the visitors' hours are over hours ago. But I need to see her! We received a call from her parents earlier when you were still passed out, said Olivia. Is no, she is stable. You're gonna see her tomorrow. And the next day she did. He did went to the hospital with his parents and saw her in a hospital bed with her parents next to her. They were actually devastated to see their own daughter in a bed. But the doctor informed both families that she will survive, and she will probably had to be staying in the hospital for at least a couple of days, maybe a week, to see how the condition. But after about a week, she made full recovery. Even though that she probably had to stay home for another week just to make sure, and then she went back. So when Rachel came back to school, everyone was just terrified what just happened. Even though there was a time, what happened? Maya, who was literally the first target, she couldn't stand anymore. She told her parents that she didn't want to be at this school anymore, and she made us talk to the police to give her statement why the reason Tobias wanted to hurt her in the first place. And then she asked to be transferred to a different school, a different state. So during this week and of that time, Maya was pulled out from school and was homeschooled to that they were supposed to move. Well, later turns out she did move with her parents to a different state. And that was the last time anyone, in particular, especially Max, heard from Maya. Rachel made a full recovery. Even all of that, after all of this, she was just terrified that she might have lost her life. But Max proved to himself that no matter what happened, he was still being with her no matter what. Their relationship, though, it didn't stop. In fact, they still remained as a couple throughout the entire school of the high school. And afterwards, they actually went to the same community college in town. They actually had a still stable relationship. And even since then, they still remained as a good couple. After they finished community college, Max proposed to Rachel, and she said yes immediately. They actually moved to a small house in the outskirts of the town where they had a good job, also. And at the wedding, though, Max had chosen Lucas as his best man, and Tina as Rachel's bridesmaid of honor, bride of honor. They later even had two daughters and one son together, which they had made Tina and Lucas as the godparents to both the older kids. But after all of this, Tobias was in jail for life for almost killing Rachel and for murder attempt of Maya, at least. But for Rachel, she could have been happier to have someone like Max in her life because he was always there for her. Even the time when she made a full recovery and the time when she was had left the hospital, he was there at her side every single day to make sure that she was okay, telling her things about what's happening in school, telling her some jokes, something like that. She was actually happy to have in his life, and now to be married with true love. Even Max, though, because back all those years earlier when he was still in high school, he was actually first. If he had even told Rachel about his true love, he had no idea how his life would have been. But even though that, but despite what happened later on, that she ended up fired or being shot, it still could have happened despite that. But he was just glad that she made it all through. And Max, he is very happy to have someone like Rachel in his life. And for that, Rachel and Max are happy to be with the one they love the most in the whole world. And this is how Rachel and Max found a true love, got a big family together. The end.